All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I'm here with my friend Mark Livesay, and we're going to talk a little bit about bear hunting. It's the spring. A lot of bear hunting is going down, and there's a lot of dudes who went out and didn't see anything. He didn't kill a bear. There's a lot of guys who got the first bear. A lot of guys just, having a great trip. What I thought we'd do today, Mark, for those who maybe didn't score, and for those who have but just love bear hunting, we could share a little bit on the greatest, let's say, our greatest bear hunting success. Then pick a couple off the top of your head, and let's just kind of go over that story, and then our greatest failure. Like, we all have, maybe there's a few guys out there who can commiserate with us that have also failed this year and get a feel for it too. So,
Well, it's good that this year, basically I didn't get a chance to bear hunt this year because you basically ran me over in a snowmobile and put me on the disabled list. And that's what
if
friends are
only you
for,
were,
right?
if only you were tougher.
Yeah. And so I've been living vicariously through all the people sending me pictures of bears, and I've been getting a fair amount of like, man, I just can't find any bears. And I talk to these guys and they kind of start fleshing it out. And they're like, I'm like, can you see any snow from where you're at all? Well, no, I'm at I'm at 3,000 feet. Let's just say. I'm like, dude, it's May 25th and you're at 3,000 feet. There's not very many bears at that level at that time of year. And at least in the States, Idaho, Montana, those kinds of states. So, most of the time people are just at the wrong level. Or they're in a place that don't have any bears, whatever the case is. But this year's been really weird for me because it's been tough. I just sent my buddies out. I was telling you earlier, some of my friends just left on a bear hunt, and here I am doing a podcast with you with my leg propped up. But it's been good. I got a lot of great work done this year, and I'll be more excited about next year than ever before, probably. So so I've been watching a lot of people kill a lot of nice bears, and I've been hearing some stories that things haven't gone so good.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to think about sort of a bear experience that stands out as like in the category in your list of bear hunting achievements, pick one that's in that top three.
Okay, so this one here, I haven't told this story that much, because it's a little embarrassing. But so my first year, I moved to Montana 9 years ago. I have never hunted bears. My bear hunting career started 9 years ago. Now I've killed a fair numbers of bears when I was elk hunting, and a bear just happened to come by. But I've never, up until the time I moved to Montana,
Yeah.
I had not actually gone out and targeted a bear. Like that was my goal, right? I always bought all the bear tags I could get in Colorado and all the states I could get one in, New Mexico, Colorado, wherever. And I killed a fair amount just by opportunistic chances. But so my first year in Montana, I moved here in March, at the end of March, early April. And a couple weeks later, bear season opened up, and I decided I'm going bear hunting. Well, I got on my, I like to fancy myself as this professional e-scouter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I jumped on there and I found this old logging areas. I'm like, oh, this looks so great. It looked amazing, right? So I was like, that's it. It's the holy grail. And I knew it was in the grizzly area, and I had not had a lots of experience with grizzlies at this point, except in Wyoming, but not serious grizz like Montana and in some of these parts that we're in. So anyway, I picked this spot, pretty heavy grizz country. I go to it, and I get there. I didn't do my work. I got up on the glassing spot. Sun comes up, and I can't see shit. There's the reprod. The trees had grown up in this log out because I didn't look at the aging data. I didn't know how old. So I was basically looking at Onyx or Gaia or whatever I was looking at, and the image was way, way, way old, obviously,
Yeah.
because these trees were 5 feet tall. Well, I couldn't glass. There's no chance I wasn't going to glass a bear in this. So I'm like, well, I'm from Missouri. I'm a professional coyote caller. I said, I'm going to just call this bear. I'm going to call a bear in. So this was my first shot at call. I had watched Wayne Carlton call bears in on his video, and I thought I knew what I was doing, and I had it figured out. So I just remember him saying, you just got to keep calling, nonstop. And you got to go for 30 or 40. You got to go a long time. So, all right. So I did it. I set up the first setup, nothing. I moved about, but there was bear scat everywhere. There was bears all over this place. Every road I walked had multiple piles of bear scat, pretty fresh. So I knew there were bears in the area, but there was just no visibility. So anyway, I got this one log out area. I thought I could see pretty good, 360, for grizzlies, and I'm solo, of course. And I start calling my second setup. And I go about 40 minutes and my mouth is numb because in Montana you can't use electronic calls, so you got to use a mouth call. So my mouth's numb. So I was ready to move again. I was standing up. I looked up the hill and I see this black bowling ball rolling down the freaking hillside. And I'm like, what is that? It never even hit me. It was a bear for the first, few seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? And all of a sudden it hit me. I'm like, oh shit. So I got my gun ready and I'm ready and it's just thick and I can't get on him. And so he gets in this log out, but on the other side, he's about maybe 100 yards. And he's in a ditch and I can't see him. He pops up in the open. He's about 75 yards and he stands up. Well, when he stood up, I had a great shot. So I pull my gun up, I get on him, and right when I'm about to pull the trigger, he drops down and starts running at me again. Well, now I'm a pretty inexperienced bear hunter. Let's be honest, especially with a rifle. I had never killed a bear with a rifle. All my other bears have been bow. And he's coming straight at me. Like he doesn't look like he wants to eat me,
Yeah.
but he's coming to this call, right? So he's barreling. And I just pulled the gun. I said, I got to shoot him. So about 50 yards, I just pulled the gun up and I just aimed for his head and I shot him right kind of over the ears, I think. And it shot right beside his spine. So it didn't get him in the spine, but he flipped over backwards. And he was dead.
Uh-huh.
At about 50 yards, I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost had my phone out doing Instagram stories. And that's not true. And I'm thinking, I'm a bear killer, and I'm standing there. All of a sudden, I learned my very, very valuable lesson. Bears don't always die on the first shot. So that bear gets up and here he comes again. I mean, and this time he is like, I can almost tell that something's changed, right? So, like a dumbass, I didn't put another shell in my gun. So I'm left handed. So my gun is right handed. So I'm reaching across, which I'm used to, obviously, but I'm reaching across for the bolt. So I can't just pull it up and shoot him. So I'm bolting in with my left hand. I lift the gun up, and by the time I get the gun up, it's too late. I'm like, I knew in my mind, there's no way it's going to happen. So I'm like, just wait, Mark, just wait. And I waited, and right when he got to me, I kind of stepped to the side and I put the barrel on him. And as soon as the barrel touched him, I pulled the trigger. And he died. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, by that point, I'm a little shaky. I mean, let's be honest, I'm a badass, but I was a little shaky. We're being truth here. This is a gritty podcast. We're trying to tell the truth, right? So I was a little shaken there for a moment. And then it hit me. I was like, I started looking around. I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings. And with that bear making noise and me calling, I started freaking out that other things were coming at this point now, right? And so here's this bear, and I'm looking at this bear, and I'm like, this is a big bear. I mean, this is a really big bear. But what do I know? He seems big. So anyway, long story. I killed the bear. Well, it took me 2 trips to get him out. I've never had a bear that took me. I mean, this thing was a freaking bear.
Hey folks, pardon the interruption, but I've got to tell you about this new Tricer RP bipod for your rifle. This thing is incredible. It's going to take the market by storm. You're going to want one. Everyone will. It's like no other bipod on the market. It's been designed to do everything in one bipod, which is generally not what we have available to us on the market today. Use the code GRITTY over at Tricer and you will save. Whether you're shooting from a prone or sitting position, this bipod adapts seamlessly to every field environment. You're going to get rock solid stability when it matters most. This bipod includes everything for $2.99. You've got the long legs, the short legs, you got spikes, you got rubber feet, Arca Swiss, Picatinny compatible, plus a swivel stud to Picatinny adapter, giving you unmatched flexibility for any hunting scenario. Bottom line, this is the last bipod you'll ever need. Use the code GRITTY over at Tricer.com. You'll get a discount and you'll get the last bipod you'll ever need. All right, let's get back to the show.
So I packed him out. He's covered in ticks, of course. Well, we had just moved here, so my wife had an Explorer. My truck wasn't here yet in Montana. It was being shipped. So I put the bear hide in her Explorer, and that hide cooled down, and them ticks left that hide. We literally were picking ticks off of us in that car for I don't know how long.
Wow.
And she was not happy with me on that. So I killed this bear. I go to the check station. Okay. I got the hide in a cooler. I got a 125 quart cooler. I get to the check station and the guy comes out. I said, "Hey, you think you can grab the other side of that handle and help me get this cooler down?" He goes, "For a bear?" I'm like, "Well, it's pretty big hide." He was kind of laughing about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'd set it down on the ground, I opened the lid, and this hide is to the top of 125 quart. And he's like, "Whoa." He goes, "Well," he goes, "Did you skin the thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's the hide." He
Wow.
goes, we got to lay this out." So we laid it out. He's looking at it. This guy, he said, he goes, he'd been checking bears for 20 years. He'd never seen a bear like that. And I'm like,
Really?
"Where did you get that bear?" And I told him. He said, "Well, how did you get it?" And I'm like, "Well, I called it." He goes, "What do you mean you called it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mouth call." He says, "Mouth call?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mouth called for 45 minutes. He came running right in." Son, now you know there's things up there that come to those calls too besides black. I said, "Yeah, I know." I said, I was kind of looking around. He goes, "Looking around?" So anyway, he kind of gave me, he
Yeah.
could not believe, he kind of was questioning me a little bit on it, you know? Anyway, he finally came to realization that I was telling the truth. So literally later that night, we were downtown Missoula. We're brand new to Missoula. We're walking down the downtown, and him and his buddies are on the other side of the street. And he sees me with my family. He starts yelling. He goes, "That's the bear caller over there." So calling bears, I guess, is not a common thing in this part of the state, at least with the grizzlies. And I'm not saying you should do it. I'm just saying that some of these places you just can't hunt unless you're willing to do it very easily, with no baiting, no
Oh, yeah.
dogs.
Man, when a bear calling sequence works,
Oh man, it's crazy. This is my favorite
it
ones.
goes
My best
down, dude.
stories. My favorite stories. Not favorite, but my most adrenaline bear stories. The two of them are calling in bears 2 different times. So I have killed 2 bears that I had the barrel on the barrel 2 different
Dude,
times. That happened to me
that's
twice.
insane, dude. That is
It was cool.
insane.
And the
Bears are
gun I was
blind
using,
and they
I shot
practically,
that thing with a 338 Magnum
jeez.
twice before I got new. That was a little overkill for a bear gun, but he took 2 of those bullets. And that's the bear that I bring to the tour, the one I bring to the tour
Yeah.
every year. It's a big old bear, 6'6". That's like about 6'6", 6'5".
I'm going to share this
Um, it's
video
a big bear.
right here with you. So this is a bear. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So this is a bear that one of my bear experiences. Can you hear the audio? Can you hear the audio?
No, not right this second. No.
Okay.
Oh, I could see it now though.
Can you see this bear? Is it playing well?
It's playing. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I know where that's at right now. I could tell by that big head where that bear is.
Check this out.
Oh man. Look at that thing.
Look at that.
That's a big old head on that thing. See, mine was nice, but God, that thing is just a tank. Did you just get him right off the road just like that?
I was back in there. Yeah, I was
Would
back
you
in
call
there.
in or was he just coming down the road?
We were just coming down the road,
Yeah.
POW. We were dealing with weather on the shoreline hadn't been too great.
Yeah.
And there's you. You're
Yeah.
part of that film I'm working on.
Oh.
All right, folks, we got a new discount code for you for a product you can try if you want to. It's Black Flag's Revenge. It's kind of like Mountain Ops Ignite. I love Ignite. I love the pink lemonade. If you use the code Gritty over at Mountain Ops, you'll save. If you use the code Gritty over at Black Flag, you'll save. I like the Black Flag pink plunder. It's a little bit of a intense energy, what do you call it? Energy drink? Energy.
Guess it'd be a pick-me-up?
Workout kind of pick-me-up drink. For all you
addiction-related folks?
Yeah, for those that are that don't feel much from caffeine, you should try the Revenge. It's got a little kick to it. We love both partners, both companies. Work with both of them. We're going to have some drinks coming from Stealthy Nutrition soon. So we'll have that too. But like them all, try it out. If you need a little pick-me-up, check out the new Black Flag Revenge. I like that Peak Plunder. They have like a couple Sunrise something.
I don't remember the names of it.
But use the code Gritty over there. Go to
Black Flag. So it's BLKFLG.com.
Check that out. Use the code Gritty and let us know what you think. Yeah, we were. That was one of my best bear hunting moments. You just 7.5 foot, 21-inch skull, just giant, Prince of Wales Island bear. But we had been, this is before we started using the skiff and the shoreline and all of that. We took a truck, got up to Prince of Wales. We went up through Washington, got on the Inner Island Ferry out of Bellingham. So I drove from Oregon.
You did that ferry. Okay, you did that ferry. Okay, that's a long ferry.
From Oregon, it was like 2-3 days on the ferry. And then, boom, it put us in Ketchikan, and we took a little ferry across to the island. So I had a wall tent, my truck, my dad, my brother, my buddy Chad from college, my roommate, and myself. And, I had been in this area and seen a lot of bears in a couple, because I've been Prince of Wales Island twice more before that trip. And on this one, I went out on the island and I put the logging roads. There's just a series of logging roads. They're all over.
Yeah.
And if you walk those roads, the shoulders of those roads have nice green grass pop.
Because they reseed them. Yeah.
Yep. And they chop it too. They cut like a 20-yard, path along those roads every year. And then the grass pops in and it's where the sunlight can get to. Otherwise, fairly dense forest, And so we hung cameras up. I think we brought 10 game cameras. We hung them up on the roads wherever we found scat. So the first day we just walked out, and if there's a big pile of bear poop, we just put the camera on the road, figuring that the bears traveled the road system too. And it didn't take us long, and we found a whole. We'd go check the game camera, and like within 1 hour of us putting the camera up, a bear walked by.
Oh man! So you could have tree stand hunted those things almost.
If you were on the road, yeah, because those bears hit the roads and they just walk it, take a dump, eat some grass, and walk off. The hard part is, and it was better, we should have tree stand hunted something like that. I don't know what the rules are setting up on a old road, if it's, I don't know if you can set up a tree stand or shoot an animal. Maybe you can with a bow, but not a rifle. I don't know. But it would have been better to sit on a road and wait for something to come by than to just constantly walk roads. Because, you're spreading your scent up and down the road.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Although these bears don't seem to care if a human has been there or not.
Oh.
But the other thing is you're like two ships in the night. The bear pops onto the road for 5 minutes and then pops off on a mile stretch. What's the odds that you bumped into the bear on the exact stretch that he was on at the same exact time? If you'll just stay put for 4 or 5 days in a row on a stretch of road that you know they frequently kind of go down or cross because you're in a travel pattern, now you're in it. And we were just walking down the road, and that bear just came walking around the corner, looks up at us. Boom. It was like that. We hunted days and days and didn't see anything. One of the things I noticed, though, is we killed giant bears whenever we were kind of deep in those logging road areas. I just think those bears didn't get hit as hard as maybe the coastline ones. So we found a few giants. I have a few massive bears, but that was a pretty sweet hunt. That bear was humongous. Huge.
Dude, that thing's a beast. So I got a chance. I went to Prince of Wales last year. Me and Ryan went, and mainly because of your stories. I mean, we've been trying to draw that tag for a couple of years, and we didn't draw it. We haven't drawn it, and it's getting a little harder to draw because podcasts like this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And which is okay. And so we finally drew it. Him and I, we went down there, and Ryan had a buddy that has a boat, which was really great, a big boat. So we were on a 12 or 14 day hunt, and we motored like 60 miles towing a skiff. We were going to do this big 10, 12 day excursion. We get all the way down there, and we said, hey, let's go in this cove, and this looks really good. But, and we roll in there. We literally been there less than an hour. And we roll in, we're going up this first bank, and here's a giant. I mean, he's just standing up there, Megatron. So we're looking at him, and it's the first day, and Ryan's like, I'm not shooting him. I'm like,
yeah, of course.
Well, I will. I said, I'll shoot him. I said, that's a big bear. We looked at him and looked at him and looked at him. So finally we went to shore. I killed the bear, right? It's only time probably in my bear hunting career have I walked up on a bear and went, shit, this thing is way bigger than I thought. Usually it's not the case with a bear, right?
Right.
You may think it's big, and it might be big, but they still
for the area.
It's still are smaller than you think.
A mountain bear living at 10, 12,000 feet or even 8,000 feet is not the same thing as a salmon eating Alaskan black bear on an island that doesn't have to compete with grizzly bears. I mean, you're talking about a whole different species.
Well, and like your bear, I saw when he moved, the way the fat just shakes when he was running, right?
Yeah.
That's the other thing. So when people say, well, I killed a 6-foot bear in Montana, and well, that's only a foot bigger than a Montana bear. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
A 7-foot bear in Prince of Wales is twice the size of a 6-foot bear in Montana, just because it's only a foot longer, but he's 2 feet wide. He's 2 feet wider.
When you touch the hide, did you notice how the hide is more, at least on my bears from POW, they're coarse and wiry, where my Montana bears are real soft and fluffy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. I don't understand why that is. And the fat,
I think it's just the sheer amount of moisture. They've evolved probably to have a more coarse coat, because the water wicks off better. Because when I started killing a lot more mountain bears, I'm like, man, this fur is, if it got rained on, it would not shed water well, whereas the POW bears, it's like,
every day they're getting rained on.
Yeah. And their hair is thick and wiry, and it feels different.
So, I shoot this bear, and even Ryan, Ryan doesn't want to give anybody the chance of Ryan giving you a compliment is about 0, right?
Well,
and he's like, man, Livesay, that's the biggest bear I've ever seen. And inside, I'm just like, oh, I'm just smiling.
Yeah.
He goes, Yeah, that was a good call on that. But, and he's just could not. We're looking at this bear. It's like, we can't even turn this thing over, the two of us. So we're standing there. We haven't even started skin. We're just taking pictures and just looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
And our boat friend, this boat can't come to shore. It's big enough that we have to take another boat to shore. So it's way out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan and I stand there, and Ryan, he's very aware. You know how he is. He just turns and looks up the bank, and here's this son of a bitch's twin brother. He's 300 yards from us. Another mega has come out. So Ryan's like, he says, shit, that's a big bear. I'm like, well, let's go look at it. So we snuck down the bank, and we get about 80 yards from it, and this thing's out on the beach. And I'm like, Ryan, it's obviously not as big as mine. He says, dude, that's giant. I'm like, it is you got to shoot it. He goes, I can't shoot. It's first day. I'm like, so finally Ryan says, he's too big to pass, and he's too big to, I cannot shoot him.
Yeah.
So anyway, the bear goes in the timber. Like, oh shit. 'Cause sometimes on those coasts, they go in, they don't come out.
Yeah.
So he goes in, and I'm like,
typical Ryan dragging out a no-brainer.
Dragging it out. The bear
maybe
goes
letting
in.
it escape.
He escaped. So we're standing there for a second. We're kind of behind the rock, and all of a sudden he pops out again. And when he popped out this time, he was at a quartering. You could get a good look. That thing was massive. So Ryan, he had to shoot it. So Ryan shoots it. So literally in the first hour of the 14-day hunt, we are tagged out on 2.76 bears.
That's kind of awesome. And also, I feel for Ryan in that, because you didn't really get to hunt for bears.
We never even set a tent up. And
but when you get bears of that caliber, you got to do it.
I think his bear was, I hate to give him any credit, but I think it was like a smidge longer than mine.
Yeah.
But in Alaska, you have to have them checked, and they measure the skulls in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
So we take them in, and mine was 1/8 of an inch bigger than his by skull. Oh, and he kept saying, well, it's longer. I'm like, Ryan, not how bears are judged, brother.
It's so funny the way he just wants his to be bigger.
Oh, he
just
willing
wants it.
And he made that lady measure it like 3 times.
Yeah, I feel like that area of the world, everybody's got to go and do it. The meat's not very good. It's not.
Oh, the meat's terrible. So right now I'm freeze drying that meat for my dogs.
Yeah.
So I shipped back 160 pounds of inedible meat.
Yeah. Dogs love it.
Oh, my dogs love it. And also they say that you virtually 100% trichinosis.
Yeah, you have to cook it like down to, you got to cook the hell out of it, and then just either freeze dry it or can it or whatever.
Our mind, now Ryan says his isn't as bad. He's not eating it either, but we can't even cook it in the house. It smells strong.
Like ocean. Like rotten fish on the shoreline.
So then we started fishing, right? So this is kind of gross, but so once we killed our bears, we didn't have nothing else to do. So him and I just fished for freaking 2 straight weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're hiking these rivers where we killed these bears, and dude, we're finding these dead tapeworms all along the bank from those bears. Yeah. It's disgusting. And I was already not excited about this. When we skinned that bear, oh my gosh, it was so fishy.
Yeah.
And the fat,
when you grab the meat and you squeeze a muscle, it like goes, the oil comes through. And then when you let go, the meat just stays formed like clay. It's like you squeezed a ball of clay and it just stays like that.
I'm about to throw up in my mouth right now.
It's got a stank on it. When you work on those bears, you have a stain on you that you don't get from these mountain blueberry bears.
These mountain bears smell like, they're like grass and flowers. Yeah. And
that's why people have various reactions they're like, oh my gosh. Like, let's say a guy that's hunted a lot of coastal bears and killed a few, and he's like, I can't believe you guys are eating them. That's such a lie that they taste good. You're so not realizing that, if your only experience was eating one of those bears and you think all bears are like that, you're like, these guys are a fraud. That's disgusting. But they're not. They are what they eat. They truly are. They are what
truly
they
are.
eat.
So anyway, I'm back in the hunt for another Prince of Wales tag, and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going back again. We drew a tag this year, and we decided not to go before I got hurt anyway, because the logistics of where the tag we drew was another good area. It was a Kuyu style bear area. I mean,
Yeah.
an 8-footer is possible in this area,
Wow.
but the logistics of getting there was just overwhelming. Super remote. It was going to be a monster boat ride to get there. And we just decided maybe not do it. We're going to wait for, because you know how it is in Alaska. You can't apply for the same unit the
Yeah.
next year. You have to wait a year or whatever that is. So anyway, we passed on it, and good thing since I got hurt anyway. But maybe next year I'll draw Prince of Wales.
Yeah. I got to tell you, some of my fondest, definitely my fondest memories come from each Prince of Wales hunt, or just Southeast Alaska, Ketchikan area. Each of those hunts, even out of Anchorage, each of those hunts have a very, very, every single one of them is special. There's not one you went on that I don't have a vivid memory of where something crazy went down. But I would say the most incredible bear hunt for me in my life, and often it's the first sort of I don't know, the first experiences can sometimes be the most powerful because you never had something like that before. But when I went and hunted with Jeff Lusk and Ryan Lampers, up high for Rocky Mountain high country black bear, I can't describe to you, of all the hunts I've done in my life, that particular hunt had a feeling of some magical sort of, even when I think back on it memory wise, it kind of has a almost like it didn't really happen feeling. Something like out of a sci-fi novel, or like some kind of, like, I guess, fantasy novel. It gave me such a crazy experience. We killed 5 bears on that trip. We killed 3 of those bears in 30 minutes, like within a 30-minute window. And they were, I mean, every bear but the red one, or the orange one I shot, was large. And the one I shot is still, I think, ranking among one of my favorite hides. It just is it's like a color that I've never been able to find again. Not even close. I mean, it's fire red, orange. I look back on that trip, and just being so high and in the spring, and not on a coast. I grew up in Oregon. I grew up on the coast. We hunted bears in that sort of logging country. Prince of Wales was just sort of a sidestep to the same thing with a little bit bigger bears, but it wasn't like I was in some foreign place.
Yeah.
Going up into the top of the Rocky Mountains, right as bears are coming out of their den in the spring, eating the blueberry fed bears off of those mountains. I don't know, man. It was a very special hunt, crossing rivers, climbing hills, seeing bears all over, stalking them, getting them, packing them out, finding more. When we saw a chocolate thunder, like miles away, and then to take days to get over there and find a way to get through that cut and over into where that pocket is, and then to shoot chocolate thunder, and to shoot, the bear we dubbed gorilla. These bears were so hard to get to, and it was so remote, and they were so big and old. And then to shoot, I mean, when those bears came out and were like, there's the giant, and he's walking across, and Lusk hadn't shot yet, so it was his turn, and the bear gets up and scratches its back on a tree, and he has a white patch on his chest, and he's like, I'm shooting him, shoots that bear, and then this chocolate bear and this other big black bear step out, and they're hanging around with each other like, while we're shooting that bear, kind of like you and Ryan, you got 2 bears on the beach. It was just kind of like, what? And then we shoot the other 2 and we end up with 3 bears in like a 30-minute window. I don't know, the brotherhood, the smell of the air, the place we were at, the I mean, one of the greatest hunts, I think, or that I had been on. And I didn't really know Ryan well at the time. And I think that's really where our friendship, truly solidified, where I was like, oh, this is a guy that I belong in the woods with. So that was pretty amazing. And then fast forward and many adventures later, when we called in Red Lightning and that bear, we didn't know about it. That particular hunt, that hunt was another one where we were deep in grizz country. We were getting chased and pushed, and not chased, but we were dodging grizzly bears.
Yeah,
because they were in our spots. We're like, we're gonna move our tent over here. We're gonna do this. We're hanging our food like that, and it was like constant. They were out and about around our tent at night. It was really eerie. Well, we didn't have llamas either, and we just backpacked a hell of a long way in, and we had rafts to float out, albeit small ones as well. And then when we got up in there and we saw all the bears, bunch of bears, and we got up to where we tried to find Red Lightning and we couldn't. And he and I come packing down the hill. When we stopped to get this chocolate bear, which was really nice to sit still so we could take a shot on it, we decided it's about to dip over a hillside and go out of view and out of rifle range. So Ryan's like, hey, should I call? Never mind, we've seen like 10 grizzly bears and one early that morning in the same spot.
Same thing. What's the worst that could happen?
And he's like, should I call? And I'm like, yeah, or we're not going to get that bear. It's like, we'll deal with the grizz when that happens. And so he calls and, I didn't know it. He didn't know it, but Red Lightning and another black bear that was even bigger than all of them, just old, came running right in. And when that bear came into us at 30 yards and I didn't know he was there until I got home and looked at the footage later. That was a crazy hunt, Mark. First of all, we thought the only bear we had seen, the only bear that snuck up on us was the bear we shot, not knowing that Red Lightning was right there at 30 yards and we didn't even see him because those freaking earplugs you have in because of the rifle blast on the muzzle brakes. A lot of lessons learned. Our rookie was on full display there. But to come home and see that footage and then to go over it and watch it, that was special. And then to go back with you the next year and get that bear, man, it's kind of ranking in adventure and experience in places we have been. I mean, it's right up there, man. It's pretty tough to beat the sort of experiences you can have in those remote places.
Well, I was just talking, so some of our buddies just went today, and they were here. They stayed the night last night, and we were all talking about it, and they were talking about, do you think there's any big bears there? And I'm like, well, how far in are you guys going? And we're talking about it. I said, here's the thing. A lot of people drive the roads, kill bears, whatever, but you got to keep in mind that the bears that we're after, these 6-foot mega bears,
mm-hmm.
These are 12, 15-year-old bears.
Yes.
They have to make it through 15 hunting seasons. So, and all the grizz and anything else that happens to them. So a giant elk is what, 6 years old, 7 years old?
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about triple and 4 times this lifespan.
True, but what I would say, no, some elk get to 18. But I would argue.
Well, but don't you think most mature elk are harvested in that 6 to 8 year rate for, big elk?
Yeah, especially bulls. I think my bull
Yeah.
on the boulder was 10.
Oh, was he? Okay.
But some of those 400-inch big mega bulls, they're 12, 14 years
Yeah.
old, 15
Oh,
years
see,
old.
yeah. All
But
right.
but those aren't special tag units where, like you
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
not being able to get shot. They're not harvested. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, but a bear doesn't, like, just like an elk. At what stage are they kind of hitting that mega status? I'd say for a bear, a 9-year-old bear can be in a prime size, like an
Mhm.
8-year-old bear can be giant. Um, and then it kind of can, I don't know at like what age that frame and the size of the body sort of peaks out. And then it's just a matter of, just, you know, for the next 10 years, is it just kind of weight and size depends on how much nutrition and health he has. But still, the point you're making is that it can take a long time for a
They're
bear.
not, and the population, they're just not around every tree, is what I'm saying. And
Yeah, the density's way lower than
density's
ungulates.
lower, and the lifespan is long, and they become so wary. Like, think about it. Like, where this spot you and I have hunted before, it, there's baiting going
Mm-hmm.
on that road
Mm-hmm.
within 4 or 5 miles of where we are.
Yeah.
So a lot of those big bears they're not even interested in going down there to where those baits are. They're staying on the slopes in the mountains where we are. We're glassing these bears up, and they have no interest in all that baiting going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they can smell some of those baits.
Yeah.
And they've just learned, they've either learned or they've decided whatever they've decided, but they're just not vulnerable to the baiting. Some of those
Yeah.
big mature bears. Some are, obviously, some aren't.
Some know they can just come in at night
Yeah, and so,
and they just
but
never show up during the day.
that opened my eyes when we started hunting that spot. How many bears we were literally seeing relatively close to that bait area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's still 5 or 6 miles, but still,
For a bear.
that's nothing for a
Mm-hmm.
bear, right? And it kind of blew my mind how many bears we would see that were no interest in that bait, no other
Mm-hmm.
baits going on. So there's some bears that are susceptible to it, and there's some that have become resistant to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so my point is what I love about it is such a challenge to find habitat that's conducive to bears. That's what I love to do. The snow levels, all the research has got to be done for bears, particularly above most other things. That's exciting to me. And the fact that they're so challenging to kill the big
Mm-hmm.
megas.
Well,
And when you do kill one, it's such a rewarding experience.
it is. And I think some of those areas that we find a lot of bears, when we're talking mountain bears, we're high. We're the bears. I remember going in with Ryan in a couple of spots, and we spent a week hunting so low. We didn't see anything.
Yeah, except Grizz.
Yeah. And it wasn't until we found bears at the top, and they were all concentrated there. And we're like, what? Even in some of the other states we had hunted, they were way lower. That's why we looked lower.
Mm-hmm.
But you get over here and they're high. Some they're right on the water, and then other ones are at the top where the mountain goats are. And so you could spend a lot of time out there if you're a bear hunter in looking. I would say when you're mountain hunting bears, hitting that perfect elevation at the perfect time can have most of your bears concentrated in that area, and then your odds go way up of finding a great bear. But if you're a little too high, if you're a little too low, based on the timing, April,
Well,
May,
yeah, a lot
June.
depends on the phase of the season you're hunting, right? Early season versus late. Like these guys are rolling out there now. It's what is
pretty
almost
late.
late May, early June. Dude, these bears are going to be on the move. We were talking about last night. I said, when you guys see bears, you got to go. Like the minute you see the bear, you got to be heading out.
Yeah, I've killed. In fact, you kind of want to sit areas where you wait for a bear to come by.
You want to be closer. You can't glass 3 miles away like we do April
And
15th.
then go find it 2 days later.
Like you were talking about when you were with you saw this bear, it took you 2 days to get to him, right?
Yep.
That's not going to happen in June 1st. I mean, more than likely.
No, they don't hold up. They don't stick.
Yeah, that's right. They're not.
Especially if they do rut, then they start moving anyway. And now you're trying to. That's why a nice saddle or an area that connects two ranges where bears want to like check it out. You sit there and you're just kind of waiting for one to cruise by. That's really how I should have killed a grizzly on my first grizz hunt. They were just coming through a pinch. Had we just sat up there for 10 days, not moved around, pushed our scent around, we'd have killed a bear coming from the mountains down to the fish streams as they migrated through. Later, we did do that, and it's worked great. But the first time, you figure it out as you go, and we just didn't know it. So, I don't know. What's your biggest failure, Mark?
Well, I know what one you're going to say about my biggest failure. So,
well, I mean, it was on film for many. That's the only reason, probably.
That probably, when it comes to bears, that's probably my biggest. I've been lucky.
That's one of those regrets.
I have never. A lot of guys lose bears because bears are not. Bears are super easy to kill if you shoot them in the right spot.
Yeah, but
you shoot them in the wrong spot, and they're nightmarish.
Yeah,
their hide soaks up the blood. They're very difficult to track. I'm lucky. To be honest, one of the reasons I'm lucky is I kind of ran into you guys fairly early in my career, my bear hunting career, and I really learned from Ryan and you both shooting these bears middle, right? Shooting them in the middle. I don't know that I was really doing that before. I just got kind of lucky.
Really?
But I've never lost a bear. I came close to one, losing one, but I did find him. So I've been lucky there. So I haven't had any failures there. But on that same hunt, so to kind of tell the more truth about that hunt that I went on with you guys after Red Lightning. So I had heard all the stories about Red Lightning, but really I didn't know you guys all that well from a hunting perspective yet. We had become friends a little, but not at like you spend 15
not until
days
you hunt together.
Backcountry. That's right. That's right.
It's not the same.
So anyway, you guys invited me on the trip. I've told this story a bunch of times. I think, only because I had llamas and you guys were way, way, way back there. So we make it back there. And on the way back there, I'm getting this whole rundown of all the bears that I can't kill, right? Okay. Red Lightning's off limits. Chocolate 2.0, whatever. All these bears are off limits from Ryan's giving me the rundown. And I think as funny as it is, I think he's being serious. And he is being serious. And I keep saying things like, well, I sure hope Red Lightning doesn't roll through camp while I'm down at camp.
Yeah.
And he's like getting distressed about it. I can tell he's thinking that Red Lightning might be low instead of high, right? Mm. And so we get back to camp. You guys go up there. I'm down there babysitting the llamas in the grizz zone.
Yeah.
I about get eaten myself down there. Lost my binoculars. All the things happened to me down there in the bottom. Mm-hmm. And I get the word Red Lightning is down. I'm like, oh, cool. So you guys come back Red Lightning. And then me and you go up. And then you kill a great bear, really great chocolate bear. And we kill the bear. It was pretty rough. We packed that bear back at night. And we ran to get the bear. It wasn't like terrible, but I'm pretty beat.
Yeah.
And because we packed up that day too, we walked up the hill that day.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Under load.
And you did it twice. Because you just came down from Ryan. Yeah.
And immediately hiked right back.
But you're tougher than me anyway. So and then it was my turn the next day. As sure as not, here comes the bear down the slope, and we get over there, and I'm on the bear. It couldn't be better. Until you start saying things like, hey, don't shoot yet. I'm not ready yet. Or, hey, Mark, get in your mic. Tell us what's going on. I'm like, going on? Mm-hmm. We got a bear right here. And you're like, give us the backstory. or whatever you're saying. And finally, when you give me the go ahead, the bear's getting finicky right at that point, but he wasn't that bad. And I just missed him. I don't miss very many animals, but I freaking missed that bear twice. Now the
Yeah, that
second
made you
time,
like come back, and it's easy if you've shot a lot of animals and it's been kind of like whatever, and you haven't had a lot of struggles. I think you can get complacent, and that's what it seemed like. And since then, it seems as though you have redoubled your shooting ability.
well, dude, no. The part of it is, I'll admit it to this day, I'll admit it now. I was a little nervous with that camera business. I have never been filmed shooting anything at that point.
Yeah.
So, dude, people underestimate the intensity of that. I'm with two guys that are known for bear killing.
Yeah.
And they both kill bears. And here I'm the last guy up. It's getting hot. We literally are on borrowed time to get out of this spot.
Mm.
That's really the main reason I didn't have another chance, because we had to get out of there.
Yeah, I think there's some things that are in that, to break that down a little bit further. With the camera. The camera is, I don't even think people are often conscious of the pressure of the camera. You tell yourself, nah, I don't notice. I don't care.
Yeah.
But your brain and your body knows it's there, so knows. And if you've spent too much time, or if it just creeps in your mind, like the fact that it's on display, it just takes a tiny, tiny bit of distraction out of the moment, and now you're shooting a poor shot, a bad shot. And think about it when you're at full draw with a bow and you're locked in and you're getting ready to shoot, and somebody goes, hey, what are you doing? And you're right in the middle of your shot, and then they're like, oh, don't miss. And now you're thinking about them and what they said and whether you're going to miss or not. That's the first step in the mental breakdown that causes, a bad release. And so I've had this argument a few times here and there, with a few guys, where I'm like, where they're like, no, I was totally fine. I didn't notice the camera at all. Like, the camera doesn't bother me at all. And I'm like, oh, well, every time the camera is pointed at you, you miss. And when the camera's not pointed at you, you hit. So at some point, there's a denial that's going on there. And it doesn't help anyone, really, because being really brutally honest with yourself is the first step in being able to address.
Well, it's been a few years now, so I'm willing to be honest now. At first, I was like, Brian just totally messed me up. He was like trying to clip the freaking lav mic on.
I'm not a help. That's for sure.
Well, that's the other thing. When you're coming up to you and you're clipping the mic on, you're like, oh shit, I'm wired up. I'm like, you can hear your breathing.
Well, that's never happened before for you, like in that setting.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people watching our channel, just these things come into your mind. And especially that's the part when you're with someone who's killed a lot of animals before, like a lot. But they've never been on film, never had an audience just watching them. Years ago, I heard Jordan Peterson talking about, someone asked him, how do you address an audience of, in a stadium of 4,000 people and present, a couple thousand people, and you present a lecture or a story? How do you not choke, forget what you were going to say, lose track of where you were? Like all these questions that typically people who get nervous about being in front of people or just performing. And he said, well, anytime that you now start to think about, well, what do I look like to everyone? Is everyone here think I look stupid? Is everyone paying attention? Are they getting something out of this? As soon as you, as the presenter, start taking your head there, you lose track of the message. As soon as you start being self-conscious or consciously aware of yourself, which is a mistake. You really don't want to ever be consciously aware of yourself as you're presenting. You want to be outwardly focused on the objective. So when Joel Turner is in your ear and he's saying, hey, blah, 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 you don't want to be consciously aware of how you look to Joel. You want to be so locked in to your process that you're louder than Joel is. Your process and what you need to do is such a focus that you can't let the other distracting sort of consciousness come in. And after you're on film a bunch of times and it's old hat, you smoke that mule deer on film.
Well, now I don't hardly even think about it. We've done it. It didn't enter my mind.
I remember though, when I first started filming hunts, people didn't really know my name that I'm new to this space. I'm just out there having fun, and I'd done pretty well as a hunter. And then I started filming, and I failed. I failed some shots, and it was there for the whole world to see. Bad shots. And it would be a lie for me. It'd be denial for me to act like the camera wasn't part of the problem. It absolutely was. But how do you get through that on the other side, Mark? You have to expose yourself. You have to put yourself in that position and then overcome it. It's just like when people get buck fever, I feel bad for these guys. I've had a bull elk within 20 yards 3 years in a row, and each time I choked or missed or made a bad shot. Yes, that is so frustrating. You're choking, basically. You're crumbling on. You're losing your concentration under the moment that matters. The only way to get through that, though, is to finally, master that, so that when that moment comes, and so there's a staircase of failures you got to climb to get to the top where you no longer fail anymore, but you have to go through it.
Well, the other thing I've kind of noticed is, the film and the pressure of the film, because we also know, you didn't say much about this yet, but I want people to understand this, is that this is what you do for a living. I mean, this is, not that it's the end all, right? Getting something is not the end all, and it's hunting. That's the way it goes. But the pressure, I understand that pressure and how important it is, right? So you never want to be the one that causes the fail, right?
Yeah.
So what I've noticed is that now that I've been on a few hunts with you now, is that I think I'm more calm as far as a hunter in general, because being honed under that pressure a little bit makes you better at your craft.
Yeah.
So I think I've always thought I was pretty calm anyway, but now I think I'm much calmer in the moment now than I ever even was. And I think a lot of it is because of that's the one thing people don't understand as well, is you can't just shoot when you're ready to shoot. When you're filming, you got to make sure, are you ready? Are you not ready?
Right.
Because what do you always say? If it didn't happen on film, it didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
And that teaches you, like, it adds a whole new level of, like,
it does,
pressure on you. But I do think it has honed me personally into being more patient. I'm more patient. I'm not as amped up to get it done as quick when the situation is located.
The sooner you go through public humiliation, the sooner you go through that and you do it like multiple times, and you come out the other side and you realize, all right, so I'm at the bottom of the barrel. I can't be a bigger loser than this. And you realize you're breathing. Everything worked out fine. You're who you are. It was humbling. You're just like, now, after that, you're like, okay, I might fail. I might not. I don't care. You start to not really care that much. When you get to that stage, you're liberated.
Yeah.
You're liberated. The pressure's not there anymore. I just don't care anymore, Mark, whether I'm humiliated or not. I don't. Like, I'm stripped down to the bare soul. So if I completely screw up, I'm like, yeah, I'm a human being. My ego isn't so fragile that I expect that I don't feel entitled to winning. I don't. I'm going to
Well,
do everything I can, but life is life and so is nature. And so you just might get humiliated, and it's like, yeah, welcome to the one thing I've learned after hunting with tons and tons, like so many good hunters, is that they all screw up and make dumb choices and colossal errors. They all do. The good ones make far fewer, but they started the same way everyone does, failing their way up to success.
well, the wolf hunt we were on, I was stressed about that one because one, I really wanted to kill a wolf. Number two, every day you're like, Livesay, we aren't seeing a lot of wolves, so you better not miss. Like you're every day, you're like, all right, Livesay, I mean, today's a day. Don't mess it up. I mean, it ain't like that's helping things.
Actually, I
So
think it does. I think it
so
does.
I literally we'd get set up. I would probably check my gun. I was checking my gun like 4 or 5 times. I would look at my scope. I'd check my balance, check my movement. I'd dry fire 4 or 5 times. I'm like, oh man, I got 2 cameras running on me. I'm like, you just got to execute this shot. And but you were putting the heat on that hunt a little more than usual because we were sitting around a lot, so there's plenty of time to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it is a pretty, you could be prone if it's
Yeah,
right. You can, um, the miss rate on that particular hunt is absurd. It's something
not
like,
by me.
80% of
Oh,
guys
you mean in
miss.
general? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Miss that
I
first
couldn't
shot.
believe when he was telling us that. I could not
8
believe.
out of 10 times that shot is missed. And
Wow.
we kind of saw it. Kind of happened. I mean, that's the truth of it is um it's an when people see a wolf for the first time, when they got it in the crosshairs, the adrenaline's pumping. They don't sit still very well. They kind of move. They're
Yeah.
wary. You're up. It's you against another predator. I don't know what it is, but it can mess with dudes' heads. Just like some sort of gigantic mule deer walking out or bull elk in bow range, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like sometimes that it's just so majestic, so big, so unreal, so surreal. So much is riding on that moment that, yes, um, people choke. And it's just that's that's just what happens. So yeah, I think I used to be really quiet. I used to just sit there and be like, this guy can shoot. I mean, he's killed a lot of animals. I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to lecture or teach. I'm going to pull the Ryan Lampers and just be quiet. After watching how poorly that works, I don't do that anymore. I take matters into my own hands, and I
Now,
tell
did you give the other guys
Pedro,
trouble?
which he bitches about. Are you ready? Did you get a dial? Did you do this? Did you do that? And he's like, shut up, quit micromanaging me. And I'm just like, no, I'm your annoying hunting companion who's going to be like, hey, let's just do this together. Are we all dialed here? Um, and so, because the other alternative is you just be quiet. And then when it's all over, you're like, oh, you forgot to roll your sight. I was going to say, maybe, are you sure it's rolled back? But I didn't want to interfere. It's like, no, we're all here to win. Let's just jump in and cover the bases, make sure everybody thought of everything.
Now, did you give your other guys? Did you give them some?
Well, there are people in the group who I somewhat hope will fail on film, in a friendly, competitive way.
Yeah, it makes better podcasts
Where
that way,
I'll
right?
add more pressure to that particular person. No, there are people actually who respond better to taunting than not, and you're one of those people that responds better to taunting.
Well,
than,
I'm being honest. I'm starting to get a little bit of a fan base. I don't know if you've noticed in the comments, but a lot of people are coming to my rescue saying, I don't know why you let Ryan talk to you like that. Or I don't know why, or not Ryan, Brian. And,
I don't know what they're talking about.
That other one is he should respect his elders. That guy.
Yeah. It's not like you could be my father. I mean, more maybe a brother, but there's
I'm
more
almost
years.
as old. I mean, your dad and I are pretty close. Well, considering your dad had you when he was what, 12?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I've been raised by a young father for sure. But no, I do think a little bit of pressure. Honestly, we were out the other day, we were shooting bows, and I went with the guys from Black Ovis over to an archery range, and we shot for a little bit that afternoon. And Adam Buchanan, he's over there, and I was like, "So Adam, don't miss, man. I mean, there's a lot of cameras going, Tyree's filming, And whenever I mentioned that, it was a bad shot. Like it's just a little bit of pressure, and his mind just collapsed. So I feel like I'm doing him a favor, because if you can't make that shot with me in your ear, when a giant animal walks up, I'm not sure you're going to make it then either. I mean, Ryan and I have honed each other, as in, shooting 3Ds together, and I'm like in his ear saying, "Hey, Ryan, don't miss. I mean, I might be beating you if you miss this shot." The more pressure, the better. Right. That's my approach. Anyway, let's wrap this sucker up. I think people can get a little something out of this. I think there's a lot of bear hunting going on right now. A lot of guys that went out and didn't see anything, put in the time, really bummed. Others that missed shots. It's all part of the journey. You just got to stick with it.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Where can people get a hold of your podcast?
You mean my new show?
Yeah.
If you go to the Peaks YouTube channel, just search up Peaks on YouTube, and my new Thrive podcast is on there. And actually, my last episode, I just featured and kind of highlighted the last two podcasts we did, the Don't Quit and the what is it? Don't Quit and
Excuses.
That's right. And so I kind of covered those in a little segment, and it's turning out, and I've done a couple movie reviews of yours on my pod show lately.
I love it. My title was a little more aggressive. It was Losers Quit.
That's right. Losers Quit.
Somebody said to me the other day, they're like, you do too much name calling, and you shouldn't. What are you calling me a name for? Well, he pissed me off in the comment section. If you want to have a good time, just go to the Gritty Films or podcast comment section, and that's where I let it rain.
Oh, Brian, you haven't been letting it rain lately.
I've done it the whole time. I've never not. Like, if you say something that deserves ridicule or mockery, I am stepping in. If you say something that I think, if you're a dumbass, I think you should be called a dumbass. The other day they had that whole, you shouldn't use this and call kids names. Yes, you should.
Yeah.
Yes, you should. You should call kids idiots if they're idiots. Now, you should also praise them when they do stuff right.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
This whole, you shouldn't call people names. No. Bring it back. Bring back shaming. The world was better then. Don't tell me it's better now with all the nice stuff and the don't call people names. I'm not down, Mark.
I know you're not down. So after that last interaction you had with the guy with the whole public land big issue, I had to jump on there to make a couple comments. I didn't make very many.
Well, let's talk about that on our next episode.
Okay, bro. Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next show. Stay gritty.
Cheers.